In today's world, it isn't surprising that many people find themselves struggling to be happy, or even just be mellow. Climate change concerns, politics, money, and relationships weigh people down, even when they're on vacation. The world is a sad, scary place sometimes, and it makes sense to be exhausted and feel sad occasionally. However, when it becomes a daily occurrence, it may be time to reflect on your personal needs and try to meet them. Today's list is 11 signs that you are physically and mentally exhausted. While physical exhaustion may be easier to spot than anything else, mental and emotional exhaustion can sometimes be overlooked, and the consequences for doing so could be deadly. Making sure that needs are met on every spectrum is the key for a long and healthy life. Make sure you stay until number 1, because that's a very important one to look for. Number 11. You don't feel motivated. Motivation to get up in the morning often comes and goes, especially when someone is stuck in a dead-end job or classes they don't like. No one wants to get up and go to calculus, but sometimes it just has to be done. However, if someone is not motivated to get up and move at all, it can become a serious issue. It can be a sign of depression, and it can also be a sign that someone is mentally and emotionally exhausted. When the very idea of getting up and facing the day seems like a horribly daunting task, it's time to look deep into what's causing it and do something about it if it can be done, especially if whatever used to motivate someone doesn't anymore. Then the issue becomes clear. If old hobbies usually enjoyed or fun things are turned away, it's quite possible that the exhaustion is prevalent. Number 10. You're becoming physically ill. "You'll worry yourself sick" is an honest sentence. Not many people know that, but stress can cause body heat to rise and the body's immune system to kick in. Stress, sadness, and other negative emotions can physically make someone sick. If someone constantly finds themselves sick, especially from stomach pain and digestive stress, it can be a sure sign that they're emotionally and mentally exhausted and taking it out on their bodies. The human body reacts to perceived threats even if they aren't real. This means that negative emotions will make anyone sick if they imagine and perceive it to be real. It's just a natural response. Number 9. You're suddenly cynical and jaded. If someone is suddenly seeing nothing but the bad in the world when they used to at least see the good, it can be a sign of emotional and mental exhaustion. It does take effort to see the good in life, and exhaustion can hinder such things. If someone is suddenly being grumpy, cynical, and unfun to be around in general, then this is a sign that they're starting to feel exhausted. Being cynical and rude is a normal personality trait, sure, but if someone who isn't like that is suddenly cursing at kittens and relating to the Grinch, it may be time to take a break and relax. Number 8. You're self-medicating. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll won't fix every problem. It's nice and fun, sure, but it does not cure all ailments. However, if someone finds themselves constantly sad, depressed, and looking to escape, it would make sense for them to self-medicate, whether that would be through drugs, sex, alcohol, gambling, binge eating, or even shopping. Self-medicating to feel better is another sign of emotional and mental exhaustion. These people who self-medicate are doing whatever they can to make themselves feel better and ensure that they will be okay just to get to the next day. Coping mechanisms are okay, sure, but when they become what someone solely relies on, then it becomes an issue, especially if that person is seeking out this self-medicating behavior and is always feeling low like this. Seeking our self-medication is another sign of mental and emotional exhaustion, and should be treated as such. Number 7. You can't focus or concentrate. Focusing and concentrating takes a lot of energy. If someone is exhausted emotionally and mentally, then focusing and concentrating on even the tiniest task is something that can prove difficult. When doing a simple task, or focusing on even a TV show plot becomes tedious, it may be time to take a break. Focusing and concentrating is a difficult task once someone is awake and aware, so when someone finds themselves exhausted, it can be difficult to act this way. If someone can do this, it would be best for them to step back from whatever they've been trying to do, and focus on not focusing, or focus on just taking a step back and making sure that they're getting what they need. Number 6. You never feel satisfied. Satisfaction is often hard to find, even when someone feels normal. When someone finds themselves exhausted, they're just too drained to feel satisfied. The act of being satisfied itself is just worrisome as it is. They don't want to put in the work for things that can make them feel satisfied, and therefore they won't feel satisfied. This is a vicious cycle that will continue on until the exhausted person takes a second to think about what is causing them this pain and cuts whatever or whoever it is out of their life. Satisfaction should be achieved by everyone. It's only fair. Exhausted people have to try harder for it, sure, but it is something everyone deserves. Otherwise, life will seem gloomy and uneventful. So, if someone doesn't feel satisfied from anything, it's a sure sign that they're exhausted. By the way, if you're finding this video valuable so far, then make sure to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And why not subscribe so you can keep learning more? It's free. Number 5. You dream constantly of a drastic change. If someone's dreams consist of moving to Italy and changing their name, running off to the beach, and opening that cafe they've always dreamed of, or even leaving a dead-end relationship, it can be a sign of exhaustion. It can be an indicator that the life they're leading right now is not enough, that they need more, that this life they're leading just is not fulfilling them. That's why the idea of a drastic, sudden, and sometimes even secret change is so enticing. It means that they can leave whatever crap situation they're in and start new with a clean slate. This is such a glaring sign of exhaustion. Not being satisfied with the current situation in life may mean that it is time for a serious change in someone's life. Even if it's drastic, life is about doing what makes someone happy after all. And if whatever life is offering at the moment is not making the cut, then it may be time to leave and cure themselves of the exhaustion. Number 4. You're easily irritated. If someone who is normally calm and kind suddenly finds themselves ill-tempered, rude, unable to talk to others without snapping or yelling, it can be a sign of emotional and mental exhaustion. This could be due to the energy being used to combat terrible mental thoughts, or even actual people and things, which would have the exhausted person with no energy left to have patience. If someone becomes this way, they need to make sure that they're taking the time to breathe and consider their words before they say them. Yes, they could be exhausted and not mean anything they're saying at the time, but words stick. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Number 3. You experience fits of anxiety. While anxiety can be a good thing, too much is a problem. Anxiety can show that someone cares enough to feel anxious about performing well, or making a good impression on someone for the first time, or anything. However, having random fits of anxiety is never a good sign. Not only is it a sign of possible anxiety disorder, but it means that through exhaustion, whoever is suffering is finding a possible threat in nearly everything or anyone. It can become a serious problem that can unfortunately affect a lot of things in someone's life, and fits of any kind of anxiety should always be taken seriously. It can be a sign of an anxiety disorder, and it can also be an indicator that whoever is suffering is exhausted emotionally. Number 2. You can't sleep. If it has become increasingly hard to sleep, and insomnia affects even the deepest of sleepers, it's a serious sign that someone is emotionally and mentally exhausted. See, being emotionally exhausted means that someone is constantly thinking and feeling these terrible thoughts. They focus on them, and that's what makes them feel exhausted. This can prevent them from falling asleep, as their thoughts run away from them. If someone can't sleep, they may need to consider their exhaustion. It's time to take a step back and reflect on what is making this person not sleep, and fix it. Number 1. You feel detached. If the world just seems a little far away from whoever is suffering from exhaustion, it can become a serious issue. Feeling detached from the world and personal problems can interfere with life obviously, and it can create a dangerous rift. Feeling detached from problems and the world itself is another sign of depression as well. It's along the lines of lacking motivation and struggling to be happy. It's like withdrawing into oneself and hiding inside a shell of themselves and who they are. This can cause a serious rift between this person's relationship with work, themselves, and their loved ones. If they are feeling signs of detachment and not caring about anything at all, despite normally caring about such things, it may be a serious sign that they're emotionally and mentally exhausted and need help. And if you like this video, then check out these related videos to see more. And make sure to subscribe and leave a comment saying "I subscribed," and we will personally reply to your comment.